Hi, Gemini Sun and Rising. Welcome to your September 2024 Astro Update. It's Raina here. This is a jam-packed month, and let's just get right into it. On the first of the month, Pluto goes back into Capricorn. So Pluto has, I think, gone about 2 degrees into Aquarius, which is a fellow air sign to you. So this is actually a friendly angle, and it's coming from your ninth house. And the ninth house is the house in astrology that is ruled by your opposite sign, Sagittarius, which is my sun sign. And therefore, you have an affinity with this because this is like the higher mind. You're the opposite. You're like kind of the mundane mind, but the practical, whatever you want to call it, the mind that we use for functioning in this world. But so you have Pluto having gone into that house to an early degree, and now, and been retrograding since May, and now going back into Capricorn on the 1st of September. And that's a very big deal because Pluto was in Capricorn for 15 years. It was in your 8th house during that time. So it's very possible that a lot of Gemini people had a once-in-a-lifetime experience of transforming themselves at a deep level, because Pluto is one of the rulers of the 8th house, along with Mars in the sign of Scorpio, and it's all about transformation, personal power, personal alchemy. And so because it's going retrograde in this 8th house, whatever review that you're doing, it's from an internalized place. It's not like, okay, because the 8th house is one of the water houses, so it can be about psychological issues and like the shadow self. It's so funny because people in the New Age community often talk about shadow work, and sometimes people that are on the ball, they have something going on upstairs, will say, well, what exactly is shadow work? And nobody can, honestly tell you what it is. Well, I'm half joking. Of course, you could say things about it. But I personally do not think it's work that you are doing and you're just really exerting effort. I think it's more of an awareness of how you refuse to kind of acknowledge certain parts of yourself. And so they go kind of like shoved under the rug, and they fester. And Gemini is a sign that I think is very motivated to do this because you don't like the heaviness that emotions can bring. And I know there are going to be outliers. There are going to be Geminis that have the moon in Scorpio or whatever. And you're going to tell me that I'm wrong about it. But I'm saying in general, I am generalizing. And I personally think that there's a lot of sanity to that, because having heavy emotions isn't fun. And yet, we do have to look at things that are not pleasant sometimes. So rather than looking at other people's blame or responsibility in that situation, you're really going to focus on yourself and kind of rooting out these things for the next couple of months until November 19th, when Pluto turns direct in October, but when it goes back into Aquarius. And another thing that I forgot to mention about the 8th house is that it can be about other people's money. And so this may have been something that was kind of, I want to use the word lesson, but I think that would be more, excuse my hiccuping. I think that would be more associated with Saturn, perhaps. But it could show up almost like a lesson that has to do with money and power, and how people are, kind of drawn to the dark side of it sometimes. Maybe it's not you, but like this could be an inheritance situation, for instance. And you may get the opportunity to observe family members or a person that you were once in love with and now you're divorcing, being very covetous about money and possessions, and being like kind of shocked at how people can act like that. And yeah, it is pretty shocking. And I have a late degree Taurus rising, so I still have, well, no, it's not there anymore, but I did have it go through the eighth house. And yeah, it's not fun and it's not cute that people behave like that. So um, it does give you more insight into life, the purpose of life, and how other people sometimes are missing the mark in understanding what they're here for, and that's why they do what they do sometimes. So you can be the bigger person regardless of how somebody else is acting. The same day, September 1st, Uranus goes retrograde at 27 degrees of Taurus. That's in your 12th house. As somebody with Taurus in the 12th, I'm still trying to figure out what it all means. So it's really weird because I feel like I feel like I did this reading. Maybe I erased it by accident, but I was saying that, because I do have a big 12th house and I have it here, I feel like I personally experienced the 12th house can be secret enemies and Uranus can be technology. So you might find, if you are a content creator, or even just if you, let's say you have a Facebook account and some people were leaving bad messages or whatever, it doesn't matter, but there could be secret enemies in online, or when you're trying to do something, you feel like there's people trying to thwart you. Looking at it, again, this is a general forecast, so when it comes into your first house, Uranus is going to depend on the individual. So with me having Taurus rising, it's in my it might be in my first house right now, but it's going to go back because my rising sign is 26 degrees of Taurus, and Uranus retrograde on the 1st is 27. So if you're like me, it may be in your first briefly, and then it goes back into your 12th house. But while it's retrograding, you could see things coming down if there has been any unpredictability in your life, being in the first house or in the 12th house. Even like spiritual influences that you may not realize are spiritual. Maybe you have felt very buzzy. Uranus, I believe, is connected to the nervous system. And also spiritually, with the 12th house activated, the Kundalini activation. And so anyway, this is kind of like, for all of us, Uranus going retrograde may be a reprieve from the outer Uranian kind of haywire influences that can happen in whatever house Uranus is transiting through. On the 2nd, we have a new moon at 11 degrees of Virgo. This is a fellow mutable sign, so this is in your 4th house of home and family. This can be a time when you are maybe buying property, or your 4th house can be like you're moving into some new place, or you're looking actively for a new place to live. Anything that you are doing that has a domestic angle to it, that could be what this is about, or there's new developments there. On the 4th, Mars goes into Cancer. So For Gemini people, this is the second house of earned income. So this is really hustling energy. Yeah, I do believe that I did this reading before because this this is sounding very familiar. So Mars is like a sense of urgency. You haven't had Mars in the second house since enter the second house since March 25th or something like that of 2023. So we're talking about April, May, June, July, August, September, a year and a half, which is really only because Mars is slowing down and it's going retrograde in December in Leo. So it's actually going to be here for quite a while in this sign of Cancer. So the fact that this is your second house of earned income can mean that you really are feeling a sense of urgency about making money for some reason. Now, this isn't necessarily going to extend for very long. It could just be like somebody says, hey, can you work, these extra hours? I got this part-time job for you. And you're like, yeah, sure. Could be something very temporary, but still that you're very actively earning money. On the 9th, Mercury goes into Virgo. Your ruler goes into Virgo. And on the 12th, it comes out of its shadow. So that should be good for people who are ruled by Mercury. And again, we're looking at that 4th house of home and family. So yeah, that's an important thing to keep in mind too, is that if you're trying to, buy a house or something like that, until Mercury is completely out of its shadow on the 12th, there still might be some kind of delays and things that don't go perfectly well. But then there's a little period of time when all the inner planets or personal planets are direct. So that can be time to push forward on certain projects and whatnot. On the 17th, we have a lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Pisces, another mutable sign, but this time in the opposite direction. So this is in the 10th house of career. So certainly a lunar eclipse here, because even like a full moon, which is, not as powerful as a lunar eclipse, that can produce recognition and fruition with your career. Well, what do you think a lunar eclipse would do? That might be really very powerful. And so you might get like this major promotion, maybe like more than you even thought. But if you are someone who has been kind of like ambivalent about your career, this could be the time when the universe does the heavy lifting and helps you to leave that, because it would be something that you already wanted to do, but you kind of like still clung to it for, maybe out of the sense of familiarity or the sense of safety. But then, you might really need to just kind of let it go altogether. And that can be very freeing. And yeah, so that can also be for somebody who has wanted to retire. And maybe they feel this sense of fear, trepidation about what would I do with myself and stuff like that. And the universe helps you to let go because, there's a faded quality to eclipses to nudge you in another direction that you should be going in. And sometimes, even if we have the desire to do so, we really feel like we can't. It's so important to kind of like go with the flow, because these kinds of events, they're not like optional. They're kind of mandatory. So it is what it is. And, we still have free will to choose how we respond to them. On the 22nd, but if somebody was in show business and they were kind of, or let's say they were in the theater and they get like discovered, they might have been in the theater for 10 years and all of a sudden they get discovered by this talent agent or somebody from Hollywood, a scout, and they're in the movies. That could be, when it's a lunar eclipse, it's just like all of a sudden because the 10th house is your public, like you become a known thing, maybe not like famous in all cases, but like to the people that are in the industry, at least. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Libra, into that 9th house. And, I'm sorry, I don't mean 9th, I mean 5th. And on the same day, Venus goes into Scorpio in your 6th house. So that's very interesting because, first of all, when Venus goes into your 6th house, the 6th house is a house of work. And that could be that, like if you're getting a raise, you're getting more money, Venus can be money. The 6th house is the workplace. So that, coming on the heels of that lunar eclipse 5 days before, there could be a connection there. And by the way, the eclipse cannot merely be seen as a one-day event. Actually, even in August, some people may experience this kind of influence in their life with their career. But anyway, getting back to the 22nd, the sun is going into this house that it rules in astrology. The sun rules the 5th house because it rules the sign of Leo. This is Leo's domain. You happen to have it in Libra. And so all of these Libra transits are going to, come into that 5th house. This is the house of love and creativity and pastimes, things you do for fun. So the sun is like really enjoying this kind of thing, really embracing fun as something it wants to see more of in its life. And this is enhanced by the 26th of the month when Mercury goes into this house. And you're actually going to have a solar eclipse here on October 2nd. But again, you might be feeling it in the month of September. But yeah, Mercury goes into this 5th house. You might be talking to somebody with whom you have some kind of a crush. You might be writing something. You're a Gemini, so you might be a creative writer. That is, you might be writing something creative or thinking of creative ideas. So yeah, it starts to get into this fun area from that area of childhood and family, the 4th house, into this 5th house action. All right, Gemini, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, I'm promoting my double astrological readings called my deep dive readings, an hour of natal chart analysis, an hour of transits for the upcoming 12 months for a special price. And if you love the tarot as well, I have a package deal with all 3 of those readings called the whole enchilada for a special price as well. I saw all of those readings separately, and I also do love readings, career, life path types of readings, etc., etc. You can find out more information at the link below. Thanks for listening. Bye.